Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining today's Microsoft Marketplace Partner Office Hour. My name is Justin Royal, and I am the Marketplace Community Lead for the Microsoft Marketplace. Very excited to have you here today for our very first community event focused on Australia. So very excited for our Australia audience to be joining us today. Of course, this session is available to all community members, but today's session focus is going to be on multi-party private offers through Marketplace with an emphasis on channel growth in Australia. So we will go ahead and get started here in just a minute. Just a few housekeeping notes before we get started. Today's office hour is not a standalone event. We actually have a full library of partner-focused office hours that you can access through our Marketplace community. If you're not a member of the Marketplace community already, definitely encourage you to join and access all of our free on-demand resources. You can access that community at aka.ms/community/marketplace. And if you're not a member, go ahead and join the community today. Throughout today's session, you will have an opportunity to contribute Q&A. We'll have a Q&A session at the end of today's event. And if you're watching this on demand, definitely feel free to contribute your questions in the Marketplace community, and we will answer your questions on the actual community forum. So with that being said, I will go ahead and bring in today's speakers. We've actually got a full crew joining us today. So from Australia, we have Ben Davis and David Wright joining us. And then here in the States, we have my colleague, Jason Rook. So I will go on and hand it over to y'all. And thanks again for joining.
Justin. Good morning, everybody. For those of you I haven't met, I'm Ben Davis, and I lead the ISV ecosystem for Microsoft in Australia and New Zealand. I just wanted to take a couple of quick minutes this morning as we kick off into this session to speak to you all with obviously some big news. As of today, multi-party private offers, what we call MPO, is live in Australia. This has taken a lot of time and effort to bring us to Australia, and this isn't just some new feature to our marketplace. It actually genuinely changes and elevates how our partners can serve customers in Australia. For years, we've had our amazing Microsoft partners all adding value to the same customer, but doing it separately. A software vendor sells their software, a reseller owns the commercial relationship, somebody else does the implementation, and the customer is left trying to pull it all together. It works, but it can be slow and clunky. With MPO, all of that comes together in a single deal on Marketplace. The ISV puts up the offer, the services partner shapes it for the customer buys once, Microsoft handles the billing and sorts out the payments, no more having to work out who invoices who. But the part that I'm really excited about with all of this is actually how this changes your relationships with your customers. This honestly elevates your customer conversations to a whole new level. Up until now, our partner conversations have been fairly Microsoft-centric. That's no longer where it stops. From today, you can go to an Australian customer and talk about a whole solution, pulling in software from a huge range of ISVs across just about every category you can think of, and take it to market as your solution. All of that running through MPO on the Azure Marketplace. That's a much bigger conversation, and honestly, a much bigger opportunity for every partner in the room, whoever you are and whatever you sell. So my ask for today is this: get up to speed on this as quickly as you can. We're making sure our Microsoft sales teams are all over this as well, and we want to make sure that our partner ecosystem comes along with us on the journey. Thank you all for investing your time here today, and I'm genuinely looking forward to see what you do with this. I'm going to pass it over to David Wright now to take you through the details, and I hope you enjoy the session today.
Thanks, Ben. So I'd just like to say welcome, and we always love our channel partners. So Microsoft has always been a partner organization, but this opportunity with MPO really starts to enable us to help the partners when it comes to delivering those overall sessions. And so what I did want to talk about first, before we talk about the star of the show with being MPO and going into those details, is just a few things that frame where we are with Microsoft. And so Microsoft Marketplace at the moment, a lot of people still think about it as a storefront. And this is fundamentally the wrong approach to be taking. What we want start thinking about is that marketplace becomes an actual go-to-market motion. This is a mechanism that you can tie together both your ISV you normally work with as a channel partner and actually integrate that into a value-add solution, particularly as customers move towards that frontier environment. And so what they are a lot more digital savvy and actually looking for simpler and easier ways to procure and deliver or start using a solution. And this is where we're starting to think about how we can use this marketplace as a framework to deliver that. For organizations that have shifted that thinking, we have seen that over top margin. This means that partners that are starting to think about marketplace differently really are starting to build and deliver a whole new type of business around that go-to-market platform. And so what does that mean? What does that mean? What does that mean from a delivery perspective? So something's going weird with the slides. From the platform perspective, is 3 combined elements that are really important when they come together in terms of building that go-to-market solution. We have our software vendors or SDCs, which are providing the fundamental software to deliver that outcome. And so they have now an opportunity that a solution to a customer. Where we actually see the benefit is where all of these things come together with Microsoft deliver across Azure, looking to deliver security features and functions across this, or adding in some data and analytics over the top of existing components and platform deliveries. And the channel partner being able to customization that customer needs for regulatory or proprietary needs, and putting together and working an actual solution that builds all of these things.
Hey, Administrator, it looks like we're having some network challenges here. This is the first time we've used this particular platform to do a global office hours like this. So I'll jump in if that's okay, Administrator, and you can pick right up where David was at if you want to go ahead and throw up the slide. Yeah, fantastic. So David was talking about marketplaces as platform for partnership. And so the concept here is that if you're a software company today and you've built on the Microsoft platform, there's no better way to accelerate your sales than by tapping into the 500,000 strong Microsoft ecosystem, right? And as we go through today's content, we'll show you how any partner in the Microsoft ecosystem can participate in this. And if you're a channel partner today, one of the best ways for you to really grow your business with Microsoft, and especially participate in co-sell with Microsoft, which co-sell is where you sell jointly with our field, and our field has a stake in that game, is to sell software company applications through the marketplace. So if you want to go to the next slide, let's dive a little deeper and let's talk about a concept that we call channel-led growth here at Microsoft. So Administrator, if you want to go to the next slide, and even further than that, we can go all the way to the MPO announcement slide, if you don't mind. Fantastic. Yes. So the whole point of today's office hours and why we're doing it in Australia time is because multi-party private offers are now live in Australia, Japan, and also South Africa. So 3 new countries. Back on May 27th, we launched multi-party private offer functionality to the European Economic Area. So this now takes us up to over 30 countries across the globe that are available for this particular type of selling. So if you want to go to the next slide, the concept that we talk about at Microsoft a lot is this idea of channel-led sales. 2 of these models so far. So some of you who are Microsoft Cloud Solution Provider authorized partners, you sell CSP licensing. You may have been participating in the marketplace with us for some time. We've had CSP marketplace open for almost 7 years now. So the opportunity for you to go sell software company applications when you sell an Azure VM or M365 on the CSP contract. About a year ago, we launched this concept called Resale enabled offers, where a software company can take their offer and hand it over to you within the Microsoft Marketplace, and you can then go sell that offer to enterprise customers. In that model, you own a lot of the labor that's involved. If you're a channel partner, you own a lot of the labor that's involved in selling those offers. With multi-party private offers, we really bring together the ability for the software company and the channel partner to both collaborate on their sales. And one thing I should probably mention as we dive into the workflow here is that we use this term a lot at Microsoft. And when we talk about Marketplace, we talk about channel partner. And really, channel partner is more of an umbrella term that we use to define any partner who's a Microsoft partner who's involved in the transaction, who's not the software company. So you can be a distributor, a boutique player, a systems integrator of any size, regional, national, global. You can be an MSP. You can be what we used to call an LSP or an SSP. All of those partners, if you've got a partner ID, and in the context of Marketplace, you're a channel partner because you're participating in the Marketplace transaction. So let's dive into what these multi-party private offers really are. So next slide here. In a multi-party private offer transaction, what happens is we place the channel partner between the customer and the software company. So many of you, if you've sold in Microsoft Enterprise customers, you've seen software companies go and sell their marketplace offers to your customers, and you haven't really had the opportunity to sit in the middle of those. And I think we all know that channel drives software sales. So really what a multi-party private offer does is inserts that channel partner into the workflow. And how these deals typically begin, there's probably a step 0 that belongs on this slide. And that step 0 would be the channel partner working with the customer around either an IT need or a business problem, or even it can be as easy as, hey, what renewals do you have coming up in the next 12 to 18 months? All of those can generate some type of an opportunity for the channel partner to sell software through the marketplace. Once that channel partner has identified an opportunity with that customer, they go to the software company and say, hey, I've got a customer. They want to purchase your product through the marketplace. We need to have a private offer. The software company then goes into Partner Center. They take their publicly transactable offer. They create from that a private offer, but in this case, it's a multi-party private offer, which they send to the channel partner. The channel partner then receives that offer within Partner Center. They go into their offers dashboard, they take that offer and they modify it. When they modify it, what they typically do is they mark it up, they add their margin. They then send that to the customer. The customer accepts and they purchase. And at that point, Microsoft invoices the customer, Microsoft collects. And if this is an offer that is IP co-sell eligible, or as the customer would see, Azure benefit eligible, 100% of that purchase price will decrement the customer's Microsoft Azure consumption commitment, their MACC, as we like to call it. Once Microsoft's collected, Microsoft then pays the channel partner their margin on the deal, and they take the rest of the monies, less the agency fee, and hand those over to the software company. And I know we've got a pretty specific Australia example here. If you go to the next workflow, to just kind of provide a little bit of detail on how the dollars may work, Australian dollars in this particular instance. So next slide, please. So let's say we have an offer that's $100 from the software company to the channel partner. The channel partner then marks that offer up. They send it over to the customer. So now your $100 or your $150 Australian dollars is now marked up by 15% or so, or 10%, gets you to 165. that goes over to the customer. The customer then pays for that offer, so 165 plus the tax. Microsoft in Australia manages the tax collection. They also do that in South Africa. In Japan, for those of you that are selling in both Australia and Japan, in Japan, that is a publisher managed tax country. So Microsoft does not handle tax in Japan, but in Australia, Microsoft will handle the tax. They'll collect, they'll then remit to the proper tax authorities. They'll pay the margin out to that selling partner. So in this example on the slide, 15 Australian dollars. They'll then pay the rest of the monies less the agency fee to the software company. So that's how the money flows in one of these deals. For those of you, if we are on the next slide, we'll have access to these slides as well. The next slide, if you go to that, just the same example, but in US dollars. I want to skip ahead to the resale enabled offer conversation. So many of you in Australia and Japan have been using resale enabled offers since this launched last year. And a resale enabled offer, what happens is the software company and the channel partner create an agreement outside of the Microsoft viewpoint. So they create the agreement. Then once they have the agreement, that software company takes their offer and basically hands it over to the channel partner. At that point, it's the channel partner's responsibility to do all of the labor around creating the offer, sending the offer to the customer, and then once the customer accepts, Microsoft pays the channel partner all of the monies less the agency fee. And the channel partner is then responsible. It's outside of Microsoft's view at this point. The channel partner is then responsible to pay that software company. Many of you have been using this model, but with multi-party private offer, we now have the ability to do a new thing within Australia. So if you go to the next slide, what resale enabled offers in Australia and multi-party private offers in Australia and Japan as well, by the way, what they enable is this ability to have two channel partners in the workflow, right? And typically, most likely, those two channel partners, one's probably going to be a distributor and the other one's going to be some other type of channel partner, an SI, an MSP, a VAR, an LSP, an SSP, whatever acronym you want to throw at them, but it's probably going to be a distributor and some other type of a partner involved. In this particular instance, what happens is a software company and the distributor are the ones that have that resale enabled offer relationship. The software company then hands their offer over to that distributor. And then for that distributor, as their resellers or their channel partners come to them with opportunities for that particular software offer, they go to the distributor. The distributor creates a multi-party private offer. They send it over to the channel partner. And at that point, the workflow is a multi-party private offer workflow. They modify, mark it up. They send it to the customer. Customer accepts. They purchase. Microsoft collects. Microsoft then follows both the resale enabled offer and the multi-party private offer motion, where they take the margin, they give it to that channel partner that sold the multi-party private offer deal. They take the rest of the money less the agency fee, they give it to the distributor. The distributor then is responsible for paying that software company outside of marketplace. And in many places, software companies prefer to sell through distribution. So now in Australia, software companies will be able to continue to use their distribution model to sell their applications through their channel into enterprise customers as well. Many channel partners, they prefer to only work with distributors. They like to have one distributor they go to for everything. In this case, those distributors can then get those software offers from those software companies with the channel partner wants to sell into Microsoft enterprise customers, extending kind of the flexibility and the opportunity that you have with resale enabled offers in any market where multi-party private offer is available. If you want to take us forward to the CSP slide, if you wouldn't mind. So I know many of you have probably been doing this. The CSP private offers have been available for several years in our marketplace. Just a reminder here, I think one of the most important questions you ask a customer in the sales cycle is, how do you buy your Azure from Microsoft, right? So if the customer says, I buy my Azure on an enterprise agreement or an MCA and I've got a MACC, you know you have a multi-party private offer opportunity on your hands. If the customer says, I buy my Azure through my local cloud solution provider authorized reseller, my CSP partner, then you know that any marketplace transaction with that customer needs to follow the CSP private offer motion, right? So super important qualifying question that will give you the direction on the way that the rest of your deals will work. Let's go to the next slide here. I think this is important as well. A little bit kind of building off the last comment. So if you think about where these offers are available, so if you're a software company today, you've probably been selling in our marketplace, you know the private offer model. Those are still available across the globe. If you're thinking about, hey, if you're a software company, where can I do these multi-party private offers? Or if you're a partner in Australia or anywhere, multi-party private offers are now available in over 30 markets and growing. And of course, CSP private offers are available globally as well. If you want to use resale enabled offer capabilities, those are available wherever private offers are available, so globally. If you want to use resale enabled offer capabilities plus multi-party private offer, those are available wherever multi-party private offer is available. And of course, there are a few countries that still are excluded for resale enabled offer for tax and regulatory reasons: Belarus, Russia, Singapore, Mexico, Brazil. So a couple of those to watch out for, but still in over 130 markets around the world, you can use resale enabled offers, and now in over 33 markets around the world, you can use resale enabled offer plus MPO as well. So important to know if you're a software company thinking about how you're going to scale this business with Microsoft. Multi-party private offer, private offers, even those private offers and multi-party private offers where resale enabled offers are definitely available for Azure, for MACC decrement, or as the customer will see it, Azure benefit eligible. As many of you will see it, Azure IP co-sell eligible. So kind of two different ways to look at that component. Both multi-party private offers, and those that are enabled through resale enabled offers all qualify for marketplace rewards. So if you're thinking about, hey, how do I go out and earn more Azure sponsorship, whether you are a software company or a channel partner. And oh, by the way, if you're a channel partner in a resale enabled offer, multi-party private offer transaction, both of those channel partners get credit for their sales towards their marketplace rewards benefits. And of course, multi-party private offer and resale enabled offers, wherever those sell an application that is Azure benefit eligible, again, to the customer, or Azure IP co-sell to us internally, those also are aligned to Microsoft Seller Comp. There's one more really interesting slide here. If you want to go to the next slide, please. There's a bit of a matrix here, but we call it the decision criteria slide, because many of you that are software companies tuning in today are starting to think, wow, there's all these different options, right? It's a bit of a rubric, if you will, on how I want to transact my deals in the marketplace. And then if you're a channel partner, you're probably thinking, okay, now I need to understand where and when I want to use each one of these particular models. So I encourage you to kind of use this decision criteria slide. I know the administrator is going to put a lot of the Microsoft AKA links into the chat for you. But this slide, it starts with that question of, how do your customers buy their Azure? If it's a CSP contract, then you know multi-party private offer and resale enabled offer is not something they're going to be able to do. But if they buy on a EA or MCA, they have a MACC especially, you know it's MPO or REO. In some cases, if you're a software company and you prefer to be involved in every deal, you need to be involved in the quoting, the configuration of the offer, those types of things. Multi-party private offer is probably going to be the direction that you go. If you're a software company and you say, hey, I just want to hand all this over to a trusted partner or to my distributor, then resale enabled offer is the best model for you. In some cases, software companies prefer to be paid by Microsoft. And what that often means is sometimes we see in resale enabled offer situations, the software company isn't set up to receive money from the channel partner. So MPO is probably, or multi-party private offer, I should say, is probably the best opportunity for those. And in some cases, the software or the channel partner prefers to be paid by Microsoft. They like that consistency. They like to just get the margin and go. Those probably work better with multi-party private offer. In some cases, you might be a software company, you prefer to get paid by your channel partner, especially in the case where you already have a relationship like with a distributor or one of your tier 1 channel partners. In some cases, we have channel partners that say, I always want to earn top line revenue. Well, in the workflows that we showed, obviously multi-party private offer, you're getting margin only. In a resale enabled offer, you're getting top line revenue on those. So we see channel partners in software companies working together along that issue when one of the parties wants to realize their top line revenue. If you are a software company and you say, I really only want to sell through distributor, then resale enabled offer, especially resale enabled offer with multi-party private offer in any of those countries where it's available, is the best option for you. You'll notice that in resale enabled offer, the channel partner who's enabled for resale is responsible for that agency fee. In a multi-party private offer, the software company is responsible for the agency fee. So sometimes channel partners and software companies make a decision based on agency fee as well. Again, if you're in a market that's not yet enabled for MPO, today we're talking about Australia and Japan, which are now enabled for MPO. But if you're selling in a market that's not enabled for MPO, resale enabled offer is the best thing. You'll also see that there are situations where a software company has an application that works really well in marketplace, but it works even better when it's bundled in like an enterprise licensing agreement. So we see this a lot with the networking and storage providers, where their resellers sell storage, they sell software, they sell a support contract. Well, hardware isn't available for sale through the Microsoft Marketplace, but a lot of that software is. So what we see is software companies using resale enabled offers with their channel partners to be able to go out and sell the software component via resale enabled offer. Channel partner sells the hardware and maybe the support contract outside of marketplace. They aggregate all the payments together, they send it to the software company. So that helps a lot in that scenario. One other thing I should probably mention, it's on this slide, especially in certain parts of the world, we have customers that purchase on what we call indirect enterprise agreements. So an indirect enterprise agreement is an enterprise agreement with Microsoft, but there is a partner that sits in the middle. We used to call these LSPs. We now call them SSPs, scale solution providers. But an indirect EA has a partner that sits between Microsoft and the customer. That partner acts on behalf of that customer. So Microsoft doesn't bill the customer, they bill the partner. These deals, multi-party private offer and resale enabled offer, work the exact same way with a customer that has an indirect enterprise agreement as well. So definitely, I know I spent some time on the decision criteria slide, but I think it's incredibly helpful. So with that, let's move to the call to action slide, if you don't mind. The next slide. I think there are a lot of calls to action for everybody on this call, whether you're a software company or if you're a channel partner. I'll start with channel partner. If you're a channel partner, there are some prerequisites that you need to meet to be able to sell a multi-party private offer. Good news is the bar is very, very low. We set the bar very low on purpose. The first thing you need to do is be a Microsoft partner. If you're here today, I'm going to assume you might be a Microsoft partner, so you have your partner ID. Once you have that, you need to go into Partner Center and enroll in Commercial Marketplace. So when you enroll in Commercial Marketplace, you'll fill out a couple forms. You'll agree to the Cloud Marketplace agreement. And at that point, we will give you a new ID. Yes, a new ID in the Microsoft ecosystem. It's called your seller ID. That seller ID is how we're going to recognize you. And it's also where you're going to tie your payment and tax profile. So you're going to complete a tax and payment profile mapped to that new seller ID that you got. And oh, by the way, if you like to have different payments for different geographies, or you want to be treated differently from a currency perspective in one market versus another, you can create as many seller IDs as you would like with their aligned tax and payment profiles, but you need to complete a tax and payment profile. At that point, you are eligible to sell a multi-party private offer. If you need help, you can contact the concierge desk. It's channelready@microsoft.com. There's a number of people behind that alias that will help you with these prerequisites around being able to sell a multi-party private offer. The other thing that they will do is they will put your name on the multi-party private offer eligible list, which is a list that gets published to the partner.microsoft.com site once a month. That list is very helpful for our software companies as they engage with our channel partners. One of the most important things for a software company is to make sure that early in the deal cycle, that channel partner is eligible and able to sell a multi-party private offer, because there's nothing worse than getting to the end of the deal and finding out, oh, my partner didn't have a tax and payment profile completed. So all of the partners on that list have completed that process, so software companies know. Also, if you're a channel partner, you may want that visibility as well. Channel Ready will get you onto that list. The other thing that everybody should know, software company and channel partner, is that you should know what your marketplace rewards benefits are and how to utilize marketplace rewards. If you're a channel partner and you have yet to sell a resale enabled offer deal, and you go and sell your first multi-party private offer deal, you are automatically entered into marketplace rewards, which gives you benefits like press release support, Azure sponsorship to win more deals, and as you grow, access to the propensity scoring tool as well. The same benefits that software companies get. Software companies, it's important for you to know that your channel partners are also a part of marketplace rewards. definitely want to participate in the marketplace community. That's how we got to this call here today. One of the big things that you should also do if you're a software company, I highly encourage it. We just launched an updated campaign in the box. So if you're thinking about, hey, I need some assets to go equip my channel partners in Australia or Japan to help them understand how I'm going to sell with multi-party private offer, you can go grab those assets, the campaign in a box assets, and use those today to help get you started. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and shift right into Q&A here. I see the administrators already put a number of questions here. We'll see where we're at. And I think we might have David back on the line as well. Is that correct?
I think that's correct, Jason. Thank you for hopping in
Fantastic.
there. So yes, David, if you are around, we can bring you back in, and we will go on to the Q&A. If you're joining us live, you still have a minute to pop your questions into the chat here. First question, how do I find channel partners who are eligible to transact MPOs?
Excellent question. I think I just mentioned that one. There is a list that Channel Ready publishes monthly. It's called the Multi-Party Private Offer Eligible List. There is an AKA link for it. So if you think about https://aka.ms/MPO eligible partner list. And I think the administrator is going to post that in the chat for everybody as well. So that's the place to go. It'll take it directly to a PDF file that again is updated monthly with all of the channel partners that are eligible to transact MPO and have asked to be put on the list.
Great. Thank you, Jason. Next question. If I only have time to invest in a few ISV partnerships, how do I know which ones are worth it?
Okay. I'm going to assume that is coming from a channel partner. And I would say you should start with the ISVs or software companies, as we call them, that align to your business, right? So if you do a lot of, I'm just going to use the name here. If you do a lot of Azure migrations and a lot of data estate migrations, you probably need some networking tools and you probably need some security tools, maybe some data management tools. So you may say, wow, I really want to build a relationship with Rubrik and Palo Alto and Zscaler and NetApp, right? Those are our partners. There are hundreds of ISVs that sell through multi-party private offer. Those are just some household names that I would kind of throw out as an example. So those all probably align to your Azure migration business, right? If you do a lot of data work, or if you're an app dev shop, maybe you find yourself in a lot of engagements that have Splunk or New Relic. Those are great examples as well. So think about those ISVs that map to the business that you want to drive. I would start there first. I would also say almost 74% of all marketplace transactions occur when the customer has a cloud commitment that they want to expire. That's that's across all hyperscalers. So you definitely want to look for ISVs that have Azure benefit eligible tag on their offers within the marketplace as well, because those are the offers that will decrement your customers MACC when you sell those. It'll be an easier path for you.
Thanks, Jason. Next question. What is the secret to turning Marketplace into a growth engine instead of just a procurement tool?
Okay. I will tell you, it is a procurement tool to some degree. So that is a fact. But one of the things that we see across all marketplaces is deals tend to be larger and faster when they are sold through cloud marketplace. So back in November, we did a study with a company called Omdia, formerly known as Canalys, and we surveyed a bunch of partners and software companies that were selling through our marketplace. And overwhelmingly, 75% told them that they had bigger deals in marketplace, and almost 90% said that their deals had a higher velocity when they sold through marketplace. So I think that's important to note, that your deals, you may see more revenue just from the nature of how procurement buys through marketplace. The other thing I would say from a growth engine as well is that we have many partners within the Microsoft ecosystem that may not be what we call managed at Microsoft. They're great Microsoft partners, but they've never kind of cracked the code to have a great Microsoft relationship. One of the interesting things about multi-party private offer is that most of those multi-party private offers, if not all, all aligned to Microsoft Field Seller Compensation. So if you've always kind of been on that, you've been a great Cisco partner, or at one point you were a VMware partner, or you sold a lot of network and storage, you never felt like you hit it off with the Microsoft account teams. This actually gives you the ability to build very rich relationships with those as well. I will also kind of take this question entirely 180 and tell you that one of the things that we've found is that Marketplace has opened the door to new competition. So we've had partners that have always had those relationships with Microsoft. They've always had a seat at the table in their Microsoft conversations. And now they're finding themselves getting bumped out by like the local Cisco or Tanium reseller, who's done a great job of selling Marketplace applications into enterprise customers at Microsoft. So I think there's definitely a growth opportunity, but for those of you that have yet to really embrace Marketplace and co-sell with Microsoft, other partners are going to embrace co-sell. And this is a great kind of time to think about that as well. All right. Hey, David's back.
Hey.
Oh boy.
Okay, I'll go ahead. Next question.
Let David take this one.
With the distribution REO motion, how is GST managed between the distributor and reseller? GST needs to be applied at each leg within Australia?
Yeah, so when you start thinking about the GST component, that is the element that Microsoft takes on and is part of the value proposition for why transacting through the marketplace helps a lot of those SDCs that Jason was talking about. So in that middle ground, the GST component will be taken on by us. We take the GST at whatever the taxable construct is in that region. In REO, then the remittance would be the same in that same pattern that was on the presentation that Jason showed. So it will be taken as the REO transaction goes through at that point. As it hits the customer, we take out that GST at the customer point and then remit back to those different parties. And then they have to obviously handle from an REO perspective, they have to handle that off marketplace back to whoever they have established that relationship with off book.
Okay, next question. What's the best way to identify ISVs that are genuinely committed to the local market?
I would say, I think this goes back to that building the practice component. So obviously there is a list that you can search and are eligible for MACC and those components. But I think this is a great opportunity for local channel partners, so SI partners, to actually look at their practice. Who are they dealing with and who are the ISVs that they are generally working with into solutions, and go into those ISVs and actually starting to establish how can we work closer together? How can we actually create this into a repeatable solution? What is the value that we are taking to the Microsoft customers? And as you tie all of those three things together, this then becomes that repeatable pattern that we were talking about, where going to Microsoft customers, Microsoft sellers can help you support then driving in that value proposition for a transformation into a frontier organization. And I think looking at that, how you can work with those established things that you already have got, is probably a really important way to see value in this going forward.
Great. Thank you, David. I'm not sure if all of your response got captured there, David. For those listening, we will make sure to post the full answer in the community discussion board as well. Next question. Many Australian partners work through distributors. How does MPO change the role of distribution in the sales cycle?
I think it's an opportunity because you have REO, I think, and also because who decides to take on that MPO function, the features and capability within the marketplace component are there to work within the structure of of your established relationships. So if a distributor, for example, here, Software One being one of the big distributors, or Pax8 decides to take on and leverage the REO component, or if they were actually doing MPO, there is a mechanism to be able to work through that and establish this established channel. I think there's a lot more of those actually being enabled and coming, but the mechanisms are built into the marketplace now, having MPO that allows for that freedom to be able to really deliver that across however you want to set up your scenario and your deal. So I think there's the flexibility that we're now giving all of the organizations to really give and structure the deals that they want.
Great, thank you. Next question, with REO and MPO, who carries the credit risk if the customer does not pay Microsoft?
I think I'm happy to answer, Jason, if you, yeah. So obviously, because this is an established relationship that Microsoft is taking with our customer base, the accounts that we are defining this that are eligible, so the EA and I can't remember the two other acronyms, but the across the account structure that we have defined, Microsoft has already credit validated those customers. And so we know that when we are purchasing through that, and as a marketplace offer, we are going to put that onto the Microsoft invoice, and therefore we can actually take and make sure that those customers are credit checked, and so we can always recoup those funds. So from a risk perspective, there is a minimum of risk because Microsoft is actually validated and doing that cash recovery part. That's another part of the value around the Microsoft marketplace.
Got it. Thank you. Next question. From time to time, we sell services to another channel partner, not SDC. Can we do services company to customer via a private offer, not IP, either direct to customer or via a distributor or CSP? That was a lengthy one. Let me know if you need to repeat.
I think the easiest way to answer this one, Justin, is today, professional services offers, as we would call them, which would be a managed services contract, a support contract, a fixed price services contract, are not available for sale through marketplace in Australia. In fact, I'll do better. Another way to put it is today they're only available for sale in the US, Canada, and UK. Microsoft has a plan to continue to roll out that particular functionality. We're probably a little more focused on getting multi-party private offer out to all of the different geographies that need it before you'll see professional services private offers. But today that capability really does not exist in marketplace for those in Australia and Japan today.
Okay. Next question. How are sellers compensated? Are they compensated for the entire deal or just the SDC component to decrement the MACC or for field comp?
Yeah. So we don't disclose our full rules for seller compensation, which does change from year to year. I will tell you they are compensated on the end customer price for the software sale is the best way to think about it. So for Azure IP co-sell eligible applications, so if you think about how do I really want to engage with co-sell with Microsoft, if you're a software company, get IP co-sell eligible and go sell. If you are a channel partner, find IP co-sell eligible apps. You'll see them in the marketplace as Azure benefit eligible, and those will be the ones that are the most impactful to our sales force.
I think I'd just like to add one point as well. Again, from a partner's perspective, this is at all parties. This is the opportunity to talk to the Microsoft sales team. They are compensated, so they will want to listen. They are there to help you drive. And if this is part of an overarching value add to the customer in some form, so you can clearly define this is Microsoft plus value, then they are going to be there. They are going to be incentivized to help you, and therefore they will help you drive that solution to outcome.
Thanks, David. Okay, lots of great questions coming in. We'll take one more before we wrap up. Are Australian customers actively asking to buy through Marketplace, or are partners still leading those conversations?
I think I take that as a local. Yes. So I, as this announcement has been rolling out, as our sales teams are becoming educated and have been internally beating the drum around, this is now an opportunity. So more and more customers are asking, what benefits do I get? How can I leverage these benefits? What do I need to do to be ready for this? And actually proactively trying to look at a way to become more agile in their procurement and delivery. So we've seen an interesting mix of customers from the financial sector through to mining, through to education, but all of them are asking the same things, which is how can we take better or make better use of our relationship with Microsoft, and how can we actually get these into or our software into action faster? So two very common questions. Lots of customers are actually looking and asking for this.
Thanks, David. Okay, so we are all done with questions. Thanks everybody for the great round of questions coming in. And again, if you have any other questions watching this on demand, definitely feel free to ask them in our Marketplace community. I'll share the link one more time up here on the screen, aka.ms/community/marketplace. With that being said, we will go ahead and wrap up for today. Thank you, David, for joining us all the way from Australia. Thank you, Jason, for joining us here in the States. And thank you, everybody, for watching. Have a great day and see you soon. Thank you.
Thanks, Phil.